You said you wanted a guitar. I forgot a guitar, and I've got my call for the Christmas show is an hour and 20 minutes, so we're good.
Cool. All right. Well, good morning, Rotary District 7770, and welcome to Conversations with Rotary Action People for Friday, November 13th. Friday, November 13th, and Friday the 13th of 2020. But it's going to be a great day because we are joined by my friend and MC extraordinaire, local celebrity in the Myrtle Beach area, Greg Rowles. Greg, we're honored to have you with us this morning.
And I feel like it should come through some sort of curtain, like it should be off camera and then bounce back on camera for that.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we're excited. We're excited. We look forward to your talk here in just a second. We've got a few announcements, and then I'll ask you some questions, and we'll begin. So those of you on the Zoom call, thank you for being here. How about you introduce yourself in the chat box with your name, your Rotary Club, and then today is World Kindness Day. So how about share some kindness in the chat and maybe share some, what are you thankful for about District 7770? How about that? Put that in the chat box. We'll call on some of those at the end. And also throughout today's segment, if you have a question for Greg, post that in the chat box as well, and I will ask him your question at the end of today's program. Introducing your CWRAP team that's bringing you this wonderful broadcast 3 times every week. Our public image chair from from the 5 Points Rotary Club in Columbia, Mary Gask, sporting her In Polio Now shirt and that awesome background. Thank you, Mary. And our district communications officer from the Somerville Evening Rotary Club in Somerville, Terry Moore. Terry, it's good to see you, sir. All right, so Greg, I want you to start off first. Many folks on here are not from the Myrtle Beach area and may not have heard of you or know who you are, but you have a wonderful story that started many, many years ago. So how about give us a little brief history of Greg Rowles?
First of all, to everybody out there watching, thanks for the opportunity to come and share with you today. I've known Donald for a long, long time since I moved here to the Grand Strand, and which has been almost 21 years now. Moved here from Nashville, and before that, I grew up in Fredericksburg, Virginia, just south of Washington, D.C., about halfway between Richmond and Washington, D.C. And I grew up with a musical family. And in fact, I got most of my gifts from my mom and my dad. I have great memories of falling asleep on dance hall tables when I was 4 years old up in Washington. And I just remember hearing music. Music was always a big part of my life. And as I was a teenager, actually, it was before middle school, I started playing a mandolin my dad had bought me. And I was left-handed. He bought a right-handed mandolin, and he tried to teach me how to play right-handed, and I had no dexterity in my left hand. So after about a month of fighting with that, he switched all the strings over, and off I went. And before I knew it, I was sitting in front of a television with Buck Owens and Roy Clark, and watching everything that they did and trying to emulate everything they did, and taught myself how to play bass guitar. And then, lo and behold, we started this family band. My mom, my dad, my brother. My brother played drums. My aunt played piano, sang harmony. My cousin played fiddle. And we started, when I was 13 years old, I played the first televised version of, it was the Jerry Lewis Telethon out of the Washington, D.C. feed. And so here I was up on top of this flatbed trailer, with a great big cowboy hat, and we played some country music. And that was really the start of a dream for me, because when I was 6 years old, I saw my dad sing, and I said, I want to do that. I want to be just like him, like my hero, Dad. And it's been incredible ever since. Went through high school playing nothing but, we played the animal circuit. We played the Elks Lodge, the Eagles Lodge, and the Moose Lodge. And we had so much fun doing that. And on Sunday afternoons, Mom and Dad would have us return our gifts back to those communities where we happened to be playing. And we played everything from, benefits. Somebody's house may have burnt down. We played to raise money for them. Played all kinds of nursing homes, from all the way from Baltimore down to Petersburg. Had a lot of fun doing that. And then I got my degree in business. I started a consulting firm in Washington, D.C., and did that for a few years and hated my job. and it was a successful little business, but I hated it. I still wanted to be playing music. So I went to an audition at the Kennedy Center for Opryland USA, which is now closed, in Nashville, Tennessee. Went through 7 hours of auditions, and they offered me a job in Nashville singing at a show called Country Music USA, where I impersonated George Strait, Ernest Tubb, Jim Reeves, Billy Ray Cyrus. This was back in 1991, 92. I stayed there for 3 years, and Ed McMahon, does anybody out there remember Ed McMahon? I'm getting some shakes of the head. Ed McMahon came through Nashville, and I auditioned for his show, and was on Star Search, not for 1 week, but I was on there for 9 weeks and won Male Vocalist of the Year in 94, 95. And ironically, the very next year, it went off the air. And then it came back with Arsenio Hall, if you remember that, back in the early 2000s. And they didn't have a male vocalist category. They just had a vocalist. So, in all intents and purposes, I'm still the reigning male vocalist of Ed McMahon's Star Search. Thank you. So I went on the road playing nothing but casinos and fairs and festivals all across the country, and had a ball doing that. And then I was offered a job in Myrtle Beach, playing at the Alabama Theater. And when they offered me this job, I said, I've been to Myrtle Beach and it sucks. I'm not going back to Myrtle Beach. I camped out in Myrtle Beach. Yeah, that's the Chamber of Commerce doesn't want to hear that, right? So I camped out in 1996 at Lakewood Campground with my brother. My daughter was just a little, she was an infant at that time. She was a toddler. She'd crawl around the sand. And I didn't know Hurricane Francis was looming off the coast. And so for 3 days, it was torrential rains, high winds. We had tarps and trees. The kids were eating dirt. And I said, what is the allure to Myrtle Beach? So I stuffed everything back in this truck that we had, and I said, we're going back to Nashville, and mark my word, we'll never ever step foot in Myrtle Beach again. Those were my words. And here I am 21 years later, because the same folks that hired me for Opryland offered me this job at the Alabama Theater. They produced the show there, and it was a perfect fit. So I raised my family here in Myrtle Beach, and it has become home. I love it. Needless to say, I don't have the same opinion of Myrtle Beach that I did before, because I've made so many friends here, including you, Donald, that I consider lifelong friends, and love it here. So I still get to do what I love to do for a living, and that's entertain, which I'm going to be on stage in less than 2 hours doing a Christmas show. Yes, Merry Christmas, hence the carolers. And then in the mornings, I host a morning television show for our Fox affiliate here. And I host a nighttime show, a comedy parody show for them. So I host a couple different shows for them. So it's just a fun lifestyle. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks. Did that answer your question, Donald? Was that too short?
Oh, that was outstanding. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
You did leave one thing out. You're on TV. You're on TV, not just on Fox. You're the voice for Beach Ford in Myrtle Beach, and you do all of their commercials, and you are their public spokesperson. So, as well as a Parkway Ford up in Winston-Salem, or North Carolina, I do theirs too. So, yeah, it's not something that I had planned on doing, but I have a lot of fun doing those as well. Absolutely. So now talking about the Alabama Theater, which you're going to be on stage in about less than 2 hours, you said. So talk about theater safety right now.
Well, with everything else in our lives, because we're on Zoom, everybody's doing things differently. So when Governor McMaster allowed the theaters to open back up, that was the last week of August. We opened up September 4th. And it was the weirdest thing to go into a theater that has, we're huggy people, we're community people, especially, actors and performers. And so, but I will say they've implemented every bit of safety protocol at the theater for our patrons, obviously, for the staff, and then backstage where it's really cramped quarters for all the entertainers. And of course, they're doing that through social distancing. Our show looks a little bit different because it's been blocked differently, so everybody is standing further apart. If you've never seen the show before, you wouldn't even notice any different whatsoever. they just making sure that we're following all those CDC guidelines. There's new air in the theater. I think they're telling me 8 times an hour. So basically, the theater is as clean as it was the day it opened. And and even between, like today, I'll have 2 performances. They go in and scour that theater from the front of house all the way to the back wall, and they spray it, sanitize it. Every other row is roped off, and so we're allowed 50% capacity. What does that mean for us? We have a 2,000-seat venue, so we could put 1,000 people in there, but with social distancing, that comes out to be anywhere between 450 to 500 people, and that's we would do that on an average Sunday night, anytime through the year. So that, to us, we consider that a small crowd, but now that's a sellout at the theater. I think the one thing that we're missing this year that we won't see is the tour bus companies. The tour bus operators have pretty much shut things down for 2020, and they've already started booking for 2020, 21, anticipating kind of looser guidelines.
Right.
I will say to anybody that's watching today, feel safe coming into that theater. It's amazing, and of course, everybody's required to wear masks inside the theater. And on those numbers where we cannot social distance, the entertainers are even donning face coverings.
So what's your favorite part about the Alabama Theater show?
My paycheck. Come on, Donald. That was a softball. I just knocked it out of the park.
Grand slam, right? Grand slam.
Hey, listen, I just turned 55 in September. I just entered my 42nd year of entertaining professionally. From that day sitting on the truck bed with the Jerry Lewis telethon, I'm still living my dream. And I tell young people all the time, if you love doing what you're doing, and you guys all probably know this, you'll never work a day in your life. It is, everybody has bad days, right? On any job, you have a bad day, or you don't feel like going in, right? You've got to keep your jammies on. But I still love what I do, and I'm entertaining with a lot of folks that feel the same way. It is a lot of fun, even with the social distancing, which is kind of weird in any office environment, any workplace environment. All that's weird because you don't get to be shoulder to shoulder with people that you've loved on for so long and that are family. But for me, for the show, Donald, over the course of my 21 seasons here, I've gotten to see a lot of people that have come from all over the Palmetto, including all across the country, that come every year to Myrtle Beach, to the Grand Strand, specifically to see the Christmas show. So when I started here, they would bring kids up on stages, which is one part of our show. They bring the kids up on stage, and I'd be holding these kids while I'm singing to them like this. And now the ones that I was doing this to, now they're here and they're bringing their own kids to the show. So I've seen an entire generation come back to the theater because Christmas is filled with so many traditions, and that's one of them.
Now let's talk real quick about your gospel albums and your own concert you have coming up.
Thanks, Donald. I served 14 and a half years in ministry and did that full time along with these other jobs, and I love it. I didn't grow up going to church. I was the CEO. I was Christmas, Easter, and occasionally. That's when our family went, And I was baptized 18 years ago, and kind of been taking I'm still taking baby steps, aren't we all? But I had the opportunity to, in the process of this, this time over the last decade, to record a couple of gospel projects that I really, really am proud of, love. And I just, a couple years ago, recorded a live country and gospel special at the theater. We did another one last year. And this year this year it's going to be called An Evening with Greg Rowles, and that's going to be on Saturday night, January 9th. Tickets are on sale now. But it's going to be that will look a little bit differently, just because the theater's different. So it's going to be more of an acoustic performance. It's going to be myself, another guitar player, and a bass player, and I'm going to play a variety of instruments on that show, and then sing some songs that I haven't sung in the past. Oh, we have company at the door. Can you hear them?
Oh, yeah.
Those are my grandpuppies.
Can you talk real quick about, traveling to promote the Myrtle Beach destination throughout the country? I know you've done that in the past.
I've gone as far as Rome and performed at the Vatican and touted the Grand Strand and everything that Myrtle Beach has to offer. Can you guys excuse me for a minute? I want to make sure that, hang on, I'm sorry. Hey, Ashton. Oh, Lexi, can you help, bud? All right. I bet you that doesn't happen on every Zoom call, does it? There you go. I just come in.
Yeah, we're used to mascots. We actually have a mascot cat that normally sometimes will walk across person's screen there.
Sorry about that. That's real life happening right there.
Absolutely.
So, yes, I have had an opportunity to. I've gone and performed at a lot of these the bus association conventions over the course of my 20 seasons here, and spoke to thousands of people about the Grand Strand and this tropical paradise that happens to be right here in our backyard that sometimes we forget about, including us that live here in Myrtle Beach. Sometimes we forget we're afforded the luxury of living in such a beautiful place. It's funny, a lot of us that live at the beach, including my wife and I, as much as we love the beach, Greenville is probably one of our favorite places to be in the entire. We love going, people at the beach love going to the mountains. People who live in the mountains love coming to the beach. It just happens to be one of those things, right? But we kind of get the best of both worlds living here in South Carolina because we have beautiful mountains, right? And we've got some incredibly beautiful beaches. So anytime I have an opportunity to speak anywhere and tell everyone about what I've discovered to be a utopia, then I don't waste that opportunity. I go and do it.
And then talk about, encouraging people to follow their dream and get involved in the local community.
Yeah. Now I've had this conversation with Donald, guys, and you all are doing this, and I've watched Donald do this in our community, and I know that every time that you all do something in your own backyard, you're not looking for attention, but I truly believe we were built community people. We were built to help other folks, and man, the reward that you get is unbelievable when you start reaching out to people. And I tell young people this all the time: to be a part of a community, no matter where you are, you have to be in a community. And volunteerism is a lot of work, but it's incredibly rewarding. And you don't really know about that until you go out there and do something for someone else. And so every time that, I think we all want to be yes people. Every time somebody asks us to do something, you want to say yes. But that's the great thing, I think, with my position at the TV station, of course, at the Alabama Theater, I've had more opportunities maybe than I would have anywhere else to be a part of this community, to get involved in different organizations that I've been a part of over the last 20 years, kind of in and out. And it's always good to have fresh legs with any committee. I always preach that too. Sometimes you get on a committee for so long and the ideas, as much as you want to be creative, things kind of get stale. So I always say, the term limit thing is great. Get new legs in there, fresh ideas. And then when people submit fresh ideas, you start feeding off of their energy as well.
If you have a question for Greg, how about you post it in the chat box? We're going to kind of get to some more entertainment at this point, maybe. How many guitars do you have?
My wife says too many. Guitar 4, as they say. I've got them all over. I've got plenty in the music room. I've got them lined up everywhere, and at the theater, there are a lot more. I will tell you a story too that's about my dad. My dad came into my house about 15 years ago. He's gone on to be with Jesus now, but he came to my house one time. He said, "Son," he said, "you got all these guitars now. Do you play them all?" And I said, "No." I said, "But look at that one. That's a collector's item right there." And said, "Look at this one." He said, "You don't play that one either?" I said, "No, I don't play that one." He said, "Son," he said, "these guitars need to be blessing people." He said, "They need to be in the hands of somebody that's going to play them a lot." So I sold about 20 guitars within the matter of 6 months because I wasn't playing them, taking my dad's advice. I was careful about who I sold them to make sure that they were going to be using them. I gave away a couple to young people that were just beginning taking lessons. So the ones that I do have now, I play every single one of them. I usually I've got a guitar in my hand every day at some point, picking and noodling. It's funny because it's what I do, but it's still great therapy for me. Music has always been therapeutic, and for me to just sit around and noodle on a guitar, I love it. My son comes over, and he'll pick up a guitar and play. Now, all of mine are left-handed, but I do have some that are still strung up right-handed in the house, because when my dad used to visit, the first thing he would do is that he would grab a guitar off the wall. He said, "Let's go pour a bourbon and sit on the back porch." And we'd sit and have a drink together and sit and reminisce of those dance hall days and sit and play guitar on the back porch. It sounds like a movie, but that's exactly what we would do.
Well, if you got one close by, how about grab it and sing us a tune?
Having one close by, I love it. Yes, always. Again, at the theater, the great thing about the theater is backstage at any given point, you're always hearing musicians play something somewhere. This guitar is one of my favorites, and I always wanted a handmade guitar by a local luthier. And Terry Holt, who lives here right on the cusp of Conway and Aner. And for the folks that don't live here, you can't get there from your place. It's back that far in the woods. This guy lives on a Christmas tree farm. He grew up on this Christmas tree farm, and he started making mandolins when he was a teenager. And he made a couple fiddles and double basses, the great big doghouse basses. And then he started crafting some guitars, and I found out about him. And it took him 6 months to build this particular guitar that I've had over a few years. I've got another one at the theater that he built for me, but he's got about 800 pieces of vine inlay and all this abalone that's been laid around the guitar. It's one of my favorite guitars. So I'll sing a song that this is actually one of my dad's favorites. Can y'all hear that? Okay. All right. We'll sing the song of celebration, lift up a shout of praise for the bridegroom will come, glorious one. And oh, we will look on his face. We will go to a much better place and dance with all your might. Lift up your hands and clap for joy, for the time's drawing near. He will appear, and oh, we will stand by his side, a strong and good by his bride. And we will dance on the streets that are golden, glorious bride and the great Son of Man. May every tongue and tribe and nation will join in the song of the land. And we will dance on the streets that are golden, glorious bride and the great Son of Man. May every tongue and tribe and nation will join in the song of the land. We will join in the song of the land. We will join in the song of the land. We will join in the song of the land.
Outstanding, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity to share. I appreciate that.
Don't put that down. I have one more request for you at the end. All right.
Guitarists get these instruments. Every time you see an instrument, the instrument has got a story too. And of course, the older they get, the age, they sound just so much better. And after they've been played and banged on and scratched up, and they start, as my dad used to say, building character. And there's just something about hearing an instrument, hearing it played. And I love it. So I thank you guys so much for allowing me to share that today. I appreciate that very much.
How many instruments do you play, Greg?
Well, my main, when you can't see it sitting behind me, my main instrument is pedal steel guitar, which I started playing when I was a teenager and playing right-handed. I told you I was right-handed, and so they couldn't find one of those left-handed. That is a very specific instrument. And so I met Buddy Charlton back in my hometown of Fredericksburg, Virginia. Buddy Charlton played with Ernest Tubb. Ernest Tubb was a member of the Grand Ole Opry, and he's also a member of the Country Music Hall of Fame. And when I met Buddy Charlton, I was meeting one of my heroes because I love pedal steel guitar, which you don't hear a lot in country music anymore. It's almost a dying art form. But it's one of the most beautiful instruments that was ever created, ever made. If you check out my Instagram page, you'll see a couple videos of me playing that. That's at Greg Rowles, Rowles. And I wish I had set up to play today, but that's what I made my bulk of my living with, playing in those clubs and honky tonks in D.C., Northern Virginia, and Southern Maryland. I taught myself how to play a little dobro for the show. I play harmonica. I play mandolin. Of course, I played bass guitar in that country band for 7 years before I switched over to pedal steel guitar when I was 21. And the thing about all that is I can't read a lick of music. Everything's by ear. I can't read any music. I could read enough, but not enough to hurt my singing. It's just I can follow a note on a staff, and I have so many people that I love and admire that can read. And but to this day, it's I encourage my own kids to do this too. If they're starting in music, is to learn how to read. And yes, there have been times I've probably had time to read, to learn how to read. I just have not done that. Now, what I did learn was the Nashville number system. When I went to Nashville, I was a writer and a demo singer. So I learned how to read numbers. So in the key of C, C being the 1 chord and F being the 4 chord. So if I knew the number system, I could pick out any key and any scale. The Jordanaires, who sang backup for Patsy Cline and Elvis Presley, came up with that system in Nashville for studio singers, because a lot of them were like me. They didn't read music. So they simplified music with this number system. So when I went to Nashville, if you ever hear people saying I read the Nashville number system, that's exactly what that is. That came to be back in the mid-'50s by the Jordanaires, and it's still used by all the top stars today. If you go into any studio in Nashville, including the contemporary studios that are down in Columbia and Franklin, they all use the old number charts. They'll hand you a sheet with nothing but a bunch of numbers on it. So that's how I learned how to do that.
I'll say this next question comes, it's Linda from North Myrtle Beach, so right in our neck of the woods here. Hi, Greg. In other parts of the country like Branson, theaters are closing, and I'm concerned that live music will be disappearing. My husband is a bass player, so it's a particular interest to me. How do you see this playing out here in our area?
Thank you, Linda, for taking time to watch and to write. And I say first of all, you catch yourself worrying about things that we have no control over whatsoever. I mean, we cannot sit and ponder about it because we worry ourselves into a hole. But I will say this, I've got friends in Branson that I just spoke to day before yesterday, and she is performing a Christmas show 8 times a week, and she's doing fine. I've got friends in Pigeon Forge. The theaters there have all reopened, and they are not, I will say they're not doing things as safely as we are doing here in Myrtle Beach. They've been packed. In fact, the Hatfield and McCoys and the Dixie Stampede, they've been adding shows. So they're not taking away shows, they're adding shows because the crowds have gotten larger. Now they've been adding more shows because of the social distancing as well. So they can't put as many people inside of a theater. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen, Linda, for 2021. I just know that today I've got 2 shows, and we've got people coming to them. So I don't see us, this thing, we don't know when it's going to end, but I don't foresee it. You know, it's not going to crumble everything. I just don't see that happening. I mean, I applaud Governor McMaster for opening us back up, to at least give us a chance to open back up. And then for the owners of the theater to say, you know what, we're going to roll the dice. We're going to roll the dice and see if folks are coming. Well, night before last, we had 450 people in that theater, which is basically a sellout. We had 1 bus tour come from Orlando, which is pretty remarkable. So Linda, I have great hopes that everything is going to be fine here on the Grand Strand. If you were here during the summertime, you saw a lot of those singles and the duos playing the beach gigs and things like that. It wasn't the normal crowds, but right now, nothing is normal.
I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it. You, hold on one second. Do you do the bookings for the theater? And I know you don't.
I do not. I have nothing to do with that. I can't even turn on the lights. You know, it's just one of the, I pick this thing up, and then I know when to hit the stage, hit my mark, and start singing or talking, and that's about it. But as far as the bookings in the theater, I will say this to give Linda some hope and other folks that are watching. Our guest artist concert series for 2021 is just about booked out, and we've got names like that have, like Brian Regan, a nationally known comic that's going to be at the theater for the very first time in the Myrtle Beach market. We got a Bee Gees tribute live that's going to be at the theater. The Little River Band from Australia, they're going to be in March. So these shows have been the Beach Boys are going to be at the Alabama Theater. It's incredible. So all that stuff has been booked. So everybody is very hopeful.
Excellent.
I will say this, Donald, too, and to everybody. I think what they have found is that, you know what, after yes, they didn't know exactly what to anticipate. So everything kind of shut down. It's been tough to open things up. But I think as they've been slowly opening things up, they're finding that as they know more about this pandemic, they're learning how to deal with that. They're also learning how to juggle keeping our economy afloat, which is very important. You know, we don't want to see anybody ill or dying or suffering from this disease at all. But they're learning how to deal with that and also keep everybody, you know, trying to keep jobs afloat.
Last question before my last request for you as we end here. Do you know Larry Pergo and the Headliners?
Larry Pergo and the Headliners. I don't know them. Should I know them personally? Do I owe them money?
No, it was just a question from a viewer.
Okay. I thought maybe I was in the hot seat for something. You'll start looking over your shoulder thinking somebody's watching.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So my last request for you is we have a special guest here on the line who had a birthday yesterday.
Oh, really?
And we would love for you to sing happy birthday to past District Governor David Terrard.
Oh my gosh, David, happy birthday. And the next request, if you put it on the back of a $100 bill, I'll do it really fast for you. And that's all right, everybody gather with me and sing happy birthday to David. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, David.
Happy birthday, David.
Greg, my man, thank you for joining us this morning.
What an honor. And for the folks that are not watching here from the Grand Strand, y'all come on down and please, please, please come to the Alabama Theater. It keeps my car payment on time.
Well, we appreciate it, buddy. Best of luck at the shows today. It's always good to see you.
God bless you all, and happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it very much.
Oh.
All right. Coming up, folks, as we do every Friday, we announce our speakers for next week. On Monday, We have Ashley Hinion with branding the American Red Cross. On Wednesday, November 18th, we have Walter Hughes with Ghana Clean Water and New Schools. And a week from today, we have Katie Bear, Assistance Service Day Education Center. So those are our speakers for next week. We do appreciate Greg being with us this morning. I know he's a very busy man, so he is now gone to perform at the Alabama Theater for their Christmas show. They have a 1 o'clock show, so he's gone to get prepared for that. But thank you guys for joining us on what is now a gorgeous Friday here, at least in Myrtle Beach. Hope it is for you where you are. I will close this down with the Rotary four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? If you want to stick around, we always stick around after and have a chat. Feel free to stick around if you wish. Have a wonderful weekend, Rotarians. We'll see you back on Monday for the next conversation with Rotary Action People. Take care. That's a wrap. Bye-bye.
Quick comment, Donald.